we meet again. Cathar Love number 61. Why? Why indeed? Well, many people regard Socrates as having possibly the finest mind, philosophically, that the world has ever known, followed by Plato and many others. But it was Socrates who said that the unexamined life is not worth living. So that's fairly strong words. The unexamined life is not worth living. So if we examine our life, look into it, we have to use that word, why? Why am I alive at this point in the history of the world? Why was I born into a Christian family, or a Muslim family, or an atheist family, or a family of thieves? Why was I born into a rich family? Why am I so miserably poor? Why do I have a problem with alcohol or drugs or whatever? How many people are saying, why am I so happy? It's more, why am I so sad? Why? It's an amazing word, really, when you think about it. Accident of birth. We're born here or we're born there, but there's a book on body language I've been reading, but in it says, just to illustrate the point of how much our nationality, traditions, culture, religion, all these things, how our mode of dress, how all these things play such a strong part in our lives. And those of us who, because we're all, what would you say, we're all imitating those around us. And it's said that if a person walked in, a male walked in on a woman who was by accident into the bathroom, and she was having a bath, if you're from the USA or Britain or Australia, the woman would immediately cover her breasts and her genitalia. If she's from Sweden, she wouldn't worry about the breasts, she just covers the lower part, the genitalia. If she's from Sumatra, she covers her knees. And if she's from Samoa, if she put her hands over her navel. If she's a Muslim lady, and from some areas, she'll put her hand over her face. So this just illustrates, in no uncertain terms, just how our religion, our nationality, our culture influences us, that we'll do these things automatically. And yet we have these differences. So examining our lives, and I look at mine at the moment, Gnostic, Cathar, it's great. It makes me smile. It makes me happy. And when I think that there's not many groups that can't be accused of killing, murdering and enslaving, torturing their fellow human beings. The The Jews do it. They're doing it at the moment. The Christians do it. Been doing it for a couple of thousand years. And, the Muslims are certainly, they've got some pretty wild extremists who don't mind beheading people. Convert or else. So, and we've got various other sects and religions and who keep people, they can't talk to anyone else. They're virtually enslaving them emotionally and mentally and so forth. So, amongst all this mob, there are very few people who can walk free, unentangled by all these conventions and laws and restraints and commandments. But at least the Gnostic, the Cathar, can. Yeah. There's people who live wonderful lives, kind, caring, loving lives, don't have any particular, not caught with any religion. They wouldn't call themselves Gnostics or Cathars, and that's great. But there are those of us who have decided one way or another, or just fallen into it. That's usually what happens through circumstance, life experience, and we decide to travel the Gnostic path, the Cathar path, and it's a great path. We're not for anybody, we're not against anybody. We respect religions, we want to keep away from them, but we respect them. We recognise that human beings are herd animals. They want to belong to some herd group. It's great when they go, there's 100,000 or there's 1 million doing this, and there's a billion of us, or whatever. It's a great feeling. Gnostics, well, that's great, but it's not for us. We think for ourselves, we find out for ourselves, we learn new things, we modify our beliefs if we find something that lends us towards change towards that, maybe some life experience. But the thing that we have going, if one decides, one way or another, for one reason or another, to travel the Gnostic path, is that what does happen is that so many aspects of life start to change. Mystical, things that are transcendental, things that are above the ordinary. It could be a whole range, a vast range of things that can happen, but they will happen. But what happens to you may not happen to me. But one way or another, the whole point of Gnosticism is that there's this connection with the divinity. That divinity is usually your guide, often your guide. Is the connection. I don't think there's too many that could say they're connected with the source, because we wouldn't know if we did, because the source is unknown. It's not a personal being like the Greek gods or the Christian gods or the Muslim or Jewish gods. Their God is personal like us. Our Creator is beyond our knowing. So I'm not saying, and I certainly wouldn't say that the source, our Creator, doesn't contact us, doesn't influence us. I have no idea. I think it's more our guides and those, the holy ones that have or died, or possibly relatives or loved ones that have died. These are our connection with the divine. But the thing about Gnosticism is that your experience ain't going to be my experience, and my experience certainly is not going to be that person's experience. It's all at a very personal level. But the thing is, we can live free of restraints, of commandments, of restrictions. Obviously, the whole point is, but we live within the parameters of kindness, caring, love, forgiveness, understanding these people, understanding that if we went through the lives that this person went through, possibly we would be the same as that or worse than that if we were in that condition or in that situation. So it's based on understanding, understanding ourselves, and understanding about ourselves or other things comes from questioning, and questioning brings us back to that one word, why. Why is that person like that? Why am I like this? And why is that person like that? Why do we have to have religions that give us these commandments, or why do we have to have, why is it so much wealth? You know, they estimate that the world's wealth is basically tied up within 5% of the world's population. The power of the world is caught up with this within this small group. Now, there are people who their whole existence is based on how much power and influence they can wield, and often, usually these things are to control somebody else. There's very few religions that don't want to control the people who follow them. Well, you can't do that to a Gnostic. You can't do that to a Cathar. Ours is a personal thing. It's between us and the divine. It's not your daughter, it's not your son, it's not your grandmother. It's simply between you and your connection with the divinity, you and your beliefs. But I can assure you, as we recognize, that if you lead a good life by your example, people say, well, that guy, you know, he's not down, he's not depressed, he's not in these moods of depression, he's enjoying life, he's smiling, he's laughing. Maybe he knows or she knows something I don't know. Just on the thing of laughter, I saw this on a program, it's a scientific program called Catalyst, and they did an experiment, and they had people who'd worked on a treadmill for 50 minutes, and they burnt up 43 calories. Then they had people laugh for 10 minutes, but it had to be really really solid laughing, not ha ha ha. So this solid laughter, and it didn't matter whether the laughter was false or it was something that made you laugh. So they had funny movies, they tickled them, they did all these various things, but as long as they got a really laugh out of that person, and they did it for 10 minutes. And in each case, they had to breathe, and they worked out how many calories they'd burnt up. Well, for 10 minutes in the gym, on a bike or on the treadmill, it was 43 calories. For 10 minutes of solid laughing, it was 153 calories that was burnt up. They do know that laughter is the best medicine. There was a cousin many years ago, 20 years ago or more, and he had a very rare disease, and in fact what happens, the cells of his body, they were falling apart. He was literally falling apart, every cell in his body, and it was a very rare disease, virtually unknown. But this cousin, he was not just a journalist. He reported on medicine, on the latest information on science, but specifically medicine, and he knew about vitamin C, but also having a vitamin C as a drip going continuously into a vein. He also knew about laughter, and how laughter literally destroyed toxins in the body, and it was great medicine. So he thought, well, I know this, so he put them together. So he hooked up a camera, and he bought all these Charlie Chaplin movies and all these amusing, funny movies that made him laugh. Meanwhile, he had a drip going in, which had vitamin C also going into a vein 24 hours a day. But the trouble was, he was making so much noise when he was laughing, especially at night. The other patients couldn't sleep, so they moved him out. They didn't stop him, because he's going to die anyway, so anything's better than nothing. So they moved him into a hotel room, and nothing happened for 5 days. But after 5 days, each day he got progressively better and better and better and better. So, and he cured himself of this I don't know what the disease was, but where the cells of his body was literally falling apart. So this, he more than anybody certainly showed the power of laughter. So, but the Gnostic was a Cathar, to arrive at where we are, and it's a very, very, to me, well, the little I know of it, you know, we're not worried about salvation or damnation. We know ultimately everybody is going to ride back at the source, even though it might take many reincarnations before that happens, but we are going to get there. So each lifetime is a journey of discovery, of ourselves specifically, but also about everything else. And to discover about ourselves, to examine what's going on, to examine why we're here, what is our purpose in life. It's a questioning scenario, and we need to just sit down and question, what is it that we really believe? What is it that we really think? And why? It's why. And we don't always get answers to our whys and our questions, but we are questioning why it is, and why is then such an important element in the examination of our life. And as Socrates said, the unexamined life isn't worth living. So I'm not going to argue with Socrates on that note. Bye for now.